Welcome to next trade vlog. Today is March 8th. Let's go over the trades that I did for the day. Let's start with my first trade. First trade was around 8:16 in the morning. As you can see, we had a good flush in the morning. We had a good flush, and then the price started bouncing. And my entries were not perfect because I went early in this candle around in this candle, as you can see. Sorry, around. Do you? Yeah, this one. When it started pumping up, I went a bit early. I took an entry somewhere here and then started taking entry again for 21 EMA. As you can see, it was not even at 8 EMA. I thought it was going to continue to flush. So I took the trade here, and then when it reached 8 EMA, I took another one, and then when it reached 0 ATR, I took another one. That is not a usual way for me to trade, but today, since I went a bit early, I just averaged out on the top. I was sure of a flush after 0 ATR, or that as a higher probability trade for me, rather than saying sure. Nothing is sure in trading. Higher probability setup. So I went ahead and took the position there again, and then as expected, it started flushing. If you see here, if I did not take the entry at 0 ATR, I would have not got a good exit at here. Even though you can see it flushed further down, this would have been the initial reaction. After that, anything can happen. It can go up or not down. So after that, it flushed, but I had to take a profit right away in this period. It closed. My master strategy closed all the contracts instead of two. I'm still working on that master strategy in multi-charts. It's giving me some issues. I still have to figure that out. Let's move on to the second trade. So second trade, like I said, on any day, on any given day, I don't trade when there is a volatility period. Today at 8:45 Mountain Time, Biden was expected to speak. So if you look at the time that I took the trade exactly at 8:44, and then when it moved against me, when I saw that the price is going higher, and I started averaging on the top. And then once we hit that, once it hits the 0 ATR, I averaged again. As you can see here in this place, it hit 0 ATR, so I averaged again on the top at around what is this, 13,223. And then thankfully there was a flush, and when this was happening, I realized that Biden is gonna go live on TV, and you can imagine the amount of volatility that is going to bring in when he's on TV. And with the ongoing issues, political issues, and various issues, it's going to be very volatile. So I exited my position and got lucky with it, because the same minute I exited the position, if I had not at the same exact time, you can see the face ripping rally it went when he started speaking. So it's always important to look at the calendar of events, and all the major entities, especially like a US president speaking live on TV. That's always a period for us to stay off, because the setups won't work as expected, because people trade on sentiments, and then algos go crazy, pushing the prices all the way up and down. Let's look at the third setup that I took, and these both were winners. Even though this was averaged out trade, it was a winner. But let's look at the third trade where I took the loss. So this was around 9:48. So this was after Biden was done speaking. So when Biden, after he did very small speech. So after that, I saw when during his speech it started flushing again, and then once that his speech was done somewhere here, I waited. I could see the price again go to 0 ATR, and you can see the trend again broke down, and then it was reversing to 8 EMA and 21 EMA. I went again in, with the probability of it flushing further from here. But then, the comments that Biden has mentioned in the, since there was no surprising elements in the speech, you know, market decided to go higher. Uh, on any other day, this setup usually works because you can see the trend has crossed over and there is a crossover, and then as well as you have a flush. And since morning, the downtrend has been the case, and unless and until this point in time where Biden spoke. But then market decided today's not a day for me to have winners, and for me to take a loss. It was good that I just took lower level of contracts because of the high volatility in this region, and you can see within like few minutes it hit my loss target 50 points, and then I closed the trade. And after that we had a period of push higher and then push lower. You can see that I'll give you the reason why I did not trade further in the day and what I could have done after that, or what kind of trade that I could have traded if at all. uh, so you can see I did not take any further trades. So all these things, it's just empty. The reason for that is, let's look at the push higher. As you can see, I have marked these levels before the market starts, so you can see it has acted very well in those levels. These are just overnight highs of past 2 days, so you can see they are acting very well in those regions of support or resistance it had established. These are good to have. These are not my setups, but these are good to have to see where I can exit if I'm in a setup. And let's say if I'm in a setup here and then it is flushing down to the support region, and my actual profit target is set way below, I can take off the contracts here, so that it could flush further, but then the resistance always acts up. So that is why I have these lines up. So let's look at the reason why I did not trade further. After a push higher into the overnight resistance of the previous day, it flushed. You can see, whenever there is a trend, you will see, let's look at this. You can see a downtrend, you can see a downtrend, and then it is pushing higher into 8 or 21, and then it continues the trend. This is the normal market. And then this is, volatility kicking in because of some event. So you can see the trend gets broken. And then when it is broken, I went in and expected the trend to continue because it came back to the original trend, but it did not. And then once it started pushing higher, I expected, you can see here, this is a kind of a setup, but it never reached ATMA, so I cannot trade that. And then once it went all the way high, the moment it touched ATMA, if it is a continuing trend, it will be bouncing off from here. And whenever there is a stronger push like this, I don't take the ATMA trade right away, because you can see it is extended a lot, and usually what happens is it comes to 0 ATR and then goes higher. But in this case, I could see there was no bounce. There was no bounce in 21 EMA, and I did not, I could see this was just volatile and moving in extreme way, that I just stopped taking it trades. If I had taken a regular setup, I would have ideally taken here. So and then the expectation is for it to go higher. But today's the volatility was high and trend was not clean. So I did not take trades. So you can see it flushed down and then it pushed higher. Again, even though it broke the trend and the crossover happened, it did not again flush when it hit the 8 EMA and 21 EMA immediately. It kept pushing higher, and then later in the day it started flushing. The only other time I could see a proper flush happening with a trend setup was here, where you could see it touches 8 EMA again and then it flushed again. So this was a setup to trade, but if you look at the time, it is 1:30, which is power hour. That is not a time I trade. So I stopped trading and I was done with the day. So these are the common things that I do. It's not just about trading every setup that comes to your way, but also sticking to the rules of when you trade and what you trade. It's very difficult for me to follow, but I'm trying very hard to do that. Um, Thanks for watching. If you liked, click like and subscribe. And if you had any questions, leave a comment. I'll try to answer. And when I have enough subscribers and viewers, I'll put on more details about my various setups. Thanks for watching.